Hi there. Welcome again. This is Scott. We've had a few cars come back from the paint shop. This beautiful Iris Blue car, MGB, is the same red car that we loaded quite a few episodes ago onto the back of a truck off to the paint shop. I'll put a link in the description so you can have a look-see. The car was bad when we sent it. We didn't realize how bad. Once we took all the paint off and sandblasted it, we found that it had been shunted on the left-hand side very, very badly, and that there was a lot of rust. The left rear wing, we had to bring in a whole new wing rear section from the UK, and we had to put it on, which then meant realigning the doors. We redid the sills, so all of that needed realignment. The floors, you could literally see the ground underneath the floors. So we had to cut the floors out completely and make new floors. Right here is the original maker's plate, which was on early MGBs. We've left it in place, but you can, we put it back in place, but you can see how bad the rust was by all the perforations. The wing that was on here, there was in some places over 2 inches of body putty, so it wasn't even able to be repaired. Then once we had made the floors, made the new sills, aligned up the rear fender, we then had to put the car on a jig and straighten the monocoque. Unfortunately, in its bang, it had been bent. So before we did any final welding, the whole car had to be pulled straight. Once that was done, we could then start prepping for paint and all of that. Now you'll have noticed that the car, when it left here, was bright red and is now Iris Blue, and that is because when we started stripping the paint off, we found behind the dashboard and in some inaccessible places, when they'd done the repair, we found original Iris Blue paint. So the customer decided that he would like the car to go back to its original Iris Blue, and luckily I have over the years collected and managed to hang on to some bits of BMC heritage and whatnot, and I have a complete set of BMC color swatches with the color codes from the 50s, 60s and 70s. Not only for BMC vehicles, but for most English vehicles and a couple of European. So we were able to then use the color codes and the color swatch, and we were able to match this paint exactly to how it came out the factory. The next one in line is the Morgan which in our last video, the paintwork was being applied. That is now all done. I think we had a discussion on that. The gearbox is now 98% ready to go in. The only thing I've got to finish off is I've got to finish off the selectors, which I'm waiting for a new coupling. And then gearbox goes in and we start assembling the front end. Okay, and then the third one in line is this British Racing Green MGB GT. This particular car has a long history. It's an ex-race car, which I used to race against in the early 2000s when I was still racing minis. And it was quite quick then. So, anyway, we're turning it back into a road car. The color on the car was slightly wrong, so we've redone the body in the correct BRG, again as per our paint samples. While the car was in the paint shop, we built the front subframe as we did for the blue MGB, but this one's already been fitted. So as soon as it got back from the paint shop, we fitted the front subframe, completely rebuilt, powder coated, painted, and then while the car was in the paint shop, we completely rebuilt the rear suspension, and it's now all been fitted and done. So the car just needs to finish underneath. The fuel tank here, all reconned and ready to go in, is the next thing that's gonna go in. And then we're gonna run the fuel lines, we're gonna run the harnesses, and then this car will literally be ready to put on wheels, and then we can start the interior.